So earlier this month, the Oscars finally wrapped up their 2024 award season. It was crazy, to say the least, but now it's time to start thinking about the second most important award show ever. The Tonys! When it comes to the EGOT award shows, in my personal preference, that means the right way, of ranking them of my excitement or how much I care about them, it definitely goes Oscars, Tonys, and Emmys, and then Grammys are just at the bottom. I just get confused with some of the millions of awards it seems like they hand out. And also, I just don't really listen to music all that much. If you are unfamiliar, EGOT is an acronym to represent those who have earned the highest awards in 4 branches of the entertainment industry. Emmys for television, Grammys for music, Oscars for movies, and Tonys for Broadway and theater. As of March 2025, 21 people hold the title of being an EGOT recipient, with an additional 6 being non-competitive EGOT recipients, as one of the 4 awards was given as an honorary award. Now, here's a really fun fact that's really been just stuck in my brain for a while, is that Kieran Culkin is fast-tracking his way to becoming an EGOT recipient. He just won the Oscar for A Real Pain for Best Supporting Actor. He also won, I think in 2022, maybe 2023, the Emmy for Succession. And he's starring on Broadway this year in the play Glengarry Glen Ross alongside Bill Burr and Bob Odenkirk. And I've been hearing some early talk that he could at least get nominated, and if he were to win, then all he needs to do is narrate an audiobook, and then he's got his EGOT right there in 0 time at all. As someone who loves award shows, not necessarily for the glitz and the glam, but more so to honor and recognize art and the creativity that goes behind it, sometimes I think about how some of these award shows are more accessible than others. It can be kind of hard to be able to absorb all of this entertainment and still be able to form your own opinions before the ceremony actually starts. I would say out of the 4, though, the Grammys is probably the most accessible to the average everyday person, as anyone can just go ahead and download Apple Music or Spotify. You can do it for free and have ads on there and listen to any of the nominated music and songs and albums and be able to form your own opinions before the Grammys actually start and have an opinion on who you think deserves each of the different titles. With the Emmys and the Oscars, I would say that there is a little bit of a barrier to accessibility, as most TV shows now are on a variety of streaming services. Sometimes they're on cable TV, but I know those of my generation, the younger millennials and early Gen Zers, don't really have cable anymore, so sometimes it can be hard to see all of them due to streaming services, but usually you probably have a friend or two that has these streaming services, and if you password share, then you could be able to catch all of the shows, or you can just have watch parties with your friends and be able to see most of the nominated television shows. I would say probably the same thing for the Oscars. Most of the time they are in theaters. You do have to go see them in a theater. There is a theater requirement that they have to hit to be able to actually participate and be eligible for the Oscars. And usually sometimes they can be kind of hard to find, especially this more smaller and indie titles. But sometimes a streaming service can pick them up so you can watch them there. Or most of the time, small theaters, once Best Picture has been announced, usually a lot of even small theaters will be re-showing them and having them available so that way people can go and watch them. Especially if you live by a major city, you will probably always have the opportunity to see all of the Best Picture nominees before the actual Oscars. But unfortunately, when it comes to the Tony Awards, the average person is probably never going to be able to see any of the nominated performances, or maybe 1 or 2, either before the Tony Awards happen or even after they happen. I love live theater, and I have been so lucky and so blessed to really find my theater bug again and being able to go out and see it. I live around the Boston area, and so a lot of touring productions come through, and I've been so lucky to see so many amazing shows, and I have so many lined up for the future. I mean, look, I got my cute little playbill binder. I have so many playbills just in here. I started collecting them again. This was from 2022 with Beetlejuice, and then I have so many others with my most recent one, as I flip to it right now, being Parade that I was able to see. I loved Parade. So I am so very lucky to have this binder, like not full, but starting to get full again. It brings me so much joy just to think about what I've been lucky enough to see. I've also been very lucky to see 3 productions actually on Broadway as well. I saw The Lion King when I was in 3rd grade. I believe it was still at the New Amsterdam Theater. I'm not sure if they've moved since then. I also saw Les Mis. I saw that in 2016. I was a junior in college. And actually this past January, for my sister's birthday/Christmas present, I got to go see, because she wanted to see The Great Gatsby. And I was very lucky enough to see one of the final performances with Jeremy Jordan and Eva Noblezada. She didn't really understand, like, the importance of them, but I'm like, no, we have to see it with these two. They are Broadway legends, and you'll be able to see that you saw Jeremy Jordan and Eva Noblezada in anything. It's great. And the production was so much fun. It's definitely a popcorn blockbuster production, but it got me, and I loved it so much. And all of these shows, whether they've been on Broadway or they've been touring, they're all fantastic in their own way. Even if the story doesn't hit for me for some of them, the fact that they are able to do so much on stage and bring it to life is crazy to me, and I am so thankful to have seen all these things. Now, when it comes to the touring productions, they're not usually new shows. Sometimes you get lucky, like I was lucky to see The Queen of Versailles, which is a new musical that is coming in the 2025-2026 Broadway season with Kristen Chenoweth and F. Murray Abraham. It was awesome. There's some story issues there, but being able to see a brand new musical in Boston and not having to like being one of the few hundred people that have probably seen it is so cool to me. But most of the time, if you are checking out a touring production, they're only available for shows that have recently closed on Broadway, about to close on Broadway, or that are just like iconic staples. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I saw Les Mis again on touring. Was it this summer? Yes. I think it was 2024. Maybe it was 2023. Les Mis, iconic staple. Mamma Mia, iconic staple. So those are always going to be touring, or the ones that have recently closed and still have some buzz. But if you want to go see like a brand new show, unless it's doing tryouts like it was for me, you're going to have to travel to New York City, pay exuberant prices, and hopefully be able to see the show that you want to see. For example, like Jake Gyllenhaal and Denzel Washington are starring on Broadway right now in Othello, but if you look at some of the ticket prices, if you click on a random date, some of them are going for like $900, and even if you want like nosebleeds, those are still like $200 a pop. That is an outlandish price to me, even for being in New York City, even for the stars that it has. It broke box office records with the first week of previews making more than $2.8 million, and I love that. I love seeing theater not only make money, but especially plays, which I don't think get as much hype unless they have some type of celebrity cast, and they definitely do need more hype. And that's one of my new goals, is to definitely see more plays instead of just musicals. But like, these tickets are not feasible for the average person. Cost of living is getting higher, and not everyone can travel to New York City. So trying to even get to these productions, getting in the door is just going to be tough enough as it is. There are just so many barriers to try to enjoy this award show, the Tonys, which celebrates everything on stage. But the Tonys are not as popular as some of these other shows because no one knows what the heck is nominated. I can stream Chapel Roan on my phone whenever I want. I can watch Nora now that it's available on Hulu, which which also hosts Shogun, which won at the Emmys. Like, I can watch and absorb all of these things. But if maybe Happy Ending wins for Best Musical, maybe I'll get lucky enough to see it on touring in a year or two. Or if it does really well, maybe not for a few years after that. So how do we solve this problem? That's what we are here to do, solve this problem. One of the obvious answers to do this is lower ticket prices. That's probably the easiest way to go about this. But just because you're lowering ticket prices, it doesn't solve all of the problems. This could just be a temporary solution, especially if you're like planning a trip to Broadway. But unfortunately, if you're planning this trip, you're setting aside money and time. By the time you get to New York, your show that you want to see may not even be live anymore. It may have closed. If there are poor ticket sales to begin with, even if a show is supposed to go until the end of the month or the end of the year, productions have this stop clause that they can enact, basically to kind of just cut the production early, call it a day, and close the theater, close down production, so that way those cast and crew members can go on and do something else because the ticket sales are just not there. Of the 15 new musicals that opened during the 2023-2024 Broadway season, only 3 of them are still open to this day, and that is Hell's Kitchen, The Great Gatsby, and The Outsiders. Of the 12 that have closed, 5 closed before the nominations were announced, and 1 closed before the Tonys took place. And just because it closes before the Tony Awards, that doesn't mean it still can't be nominated. And that's what's really interesting about the Tonys. For example, Brian D'Arcy James and Kelly O'Hara were nominated for their leading performances respectively in Days of Wine and Roses, which I've heard great things about, but unfortunately it wasn't a super popular musical, and it closed in March of 2024. So by the time the announcements for Best Leading Actor and Leading Actress in a Musical were announced in May, usually around May 1st, 2024, no one could go out and see these 2 obviously nomination-worthy performances because the production had closed 2 months earlier. It's not fair because when they close, they don't have the opportunity to rake in a little extra revenue from being Tony nominated, where there are so many statistics that show us as soon as you say something is Tony nominated, ticket sales go up, even if the production is slowing down or coming stagnant in their sales of tickets. There was about 137 total nominations across the board for the Tonys, and 36 of them, of those nominations, were from productions, plays, and musicals that have closed. So no one has any way of being able to see these because they closed before the Tonys took place or even before the nominations were announced. How can any of these nominees, not just the actors either, the costume designers, the choreographers, the lighting design, how can any of these nominees get any type of recognition when their things are closed down? No one's able to go out and see it. No one's able to maybe hire them for something else. And it makes it a lot harder for Tony voters to go and see these because they're not going to have any frame of reference because maybe they haven't seen it. And how maybe they want to see it again to compare it to other performances and other productions. How are you going to be able to do that if your production has closed? So here's my genius plan. This is how I'm going to solve this problem. What I think could happen, what I think could be a temporary issue or a temporary solution for this issue, is to, once the nominations are announced, go ahead and reopen these productions. I'm sure that there are some storage places where all these sets are and costumes are, and just being able to go there and just reopen. I'm not even saying for a while, maybe just like all of May and all of June. The Tony Awards take place in the second week of June, and so you could keep it going for all of May so that way people can see it before the Tonys, and then all of June so that way they can see it after the Tonys. This will allow for people to plan their trips to go to New York knowing for a fact that they are going to see a production that they are interested in that is Tony nominated. And I know that there's some logistical problems with this. One of the main ones being, well, what if your show that was in one theater, what if there's a new show in there now? And this is where I would suggest to use off-Broadway theaters. Obviously, you may not be able to fill a regular Broadway theater, but you could potentially fill an off-Broadway one. You still have the recognition of being nominated for a Tony, which means you were on Broadway. So why not just move to a little bit of a smaller theater, especially if it's only going to be temporary? To be considered a Broadway theater, you just need 500 plus seats. So 500 to however many you can fit. And then off-Broadway is just essentially a theater that can hold 100 to 499 seats. That's really it. That's the only difference. It's just seat numbers that makes it Broadway versus off-Broadway. There is no necessarily like higher caliber that you need to be in to be considered Broadway versus off-Broadway, specifically when it comes to being in New York. So yeah, just move to an off-Broadway theater. And I know there might also be some issues with like actors who have moved on and are maybe doing something else. But I think that having at least the production just showing somewhere is better than nothing. And maybe you can get these actors and actresses back and all these tech people back. They may be working on something else, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they always are, especially if it's only temporary. So that's one of my brilliant ideas. And that may still not be a feasible option for people. Yes, you could lower ticket prices, and yes, you could reopen the production for a short amount of time, but it still costs a lot of money to fly to New York or even drive to New York and spend money on gas and parking. Hotel costs are crazy, Airbnb costs are crazy, so it's still an expensive place to go. And also, taking time off work is not easy for everyone. I get 3 personal days a year, and I get a good amount of sick time, but like, it's not everyone gets that. And this is where pro shots can come into play. A pro shot is a professionally filmed recording of a play or musical, usually used for archival purposes, or we're also used for our clips to be shown, just like the Oscars and the Emmys, to be shown for the acting nominees. I don't know why it took me so long to say that word. That's what bothers me. All of them are filmed, are they not? Everything always has some type of shot. They also use them for promotion as well. If you take a look at the Tony's YouTube channel, you'll see that there is like a little trailer for all of the nominated musicals and plays. So obviously they're shot. They're filmed, they're somewhere. But where are they? Why can't they be accessible? I think this is the easiest way to not only make the Tonys more popular, but also to make some more money, maybe for the Tony Awards or for actors on Broadway. So why not do this? In 2024, only 3.5 million people watched the Tonys, the least viewed EGOT show of that year. I really think not a lot of people watch the Tonys because they have no frame of reference of what is nominated or what anything means. You may have heard of The Notebook from Nicholas Sparks, but how did it translate from book to stage or from book to screen to stage? How does that translate? No one's going to know. Then this is where you can take all of those pro shots and throw them on a streaming service. Probably Paramount Plus would be the smartest, as the Tonys are always hosted on CBS. CBS is the partner of Paramount Plus or the subsidiary of Paramount Plus or whatever. So why not put them all on there? Even if you have them on there for a short amount of time, or even for like a small additional fee, like $20, $30, heck, $50, just for like a package, or you can pay individually for them. I just think this is a great way for the average person, to care about your award show. I don't understand why this can't be a thing, because you can make money from this. There is already a specific streaming service for Broadway shows. It's called Broadway HD, but I know that there's a lot of streaming fatigue as people are like, oh, another streaming service. And maybe not everyone has Paramount Plus too, but I think that because Paramount Plus is linked to CBS, it could be a better way of being able to host everything, because the live stream for the Tonys is also on Paramount Plus if you don't have CBS. So why not just use Paramount Plus, put them on here, and again, it doesn't need to be for a long amount of time. It could be for a short amount of time. The main reason that pro shots aren't put onto streaming services is because the producers and the production is nervous that it'll cause ticket sales to go down. But these people that are probably going to be watching them are not buying your tickets anyway. They're too expensive, or they can't make it out to New York, or your production's closed. So why wouldn't you just do this? Again, it can be from May to the end of June. Same time frame as a potential re-release or revival, you can even think about it as, for the productions that have already closed and putting them back on Broadway or on off-Broadway. I think that this is a really great idea. Again, that way you're not losing money for a long period of time. Then maybe people will want to travel out to New York, be like, that was really cool, that was really interesting, but now I want to see how that would be on stage. I've watched a lot of pro shots, and they're great and they're fun, and it's not the same as watching a movie musical version of it. It is different, and having seen these pro shots, it does make me want to go out to the theater and see them more. How are they able to execute that? Why does that look so cool on screen? It probably looks better on stage. So I think this is a great way to potentially boost your income, or even get a little bit of the revenue from the purchases on Paramount Plus. Then you can make some money off of it. I think it's a really great idea. Literally anything is better than nothing. So why not just try this? I was originally going to end my thoughts there. I didn't really have much else to say. I just had my two genius ideas. As I was writing and editing this script, I decided to put on some background noise. As I like to do, I don't really like to do things in just quiet. So I'm like, you know what would be fun? Let's watch some old Tony Awards. You know what? We're talking about the Tonys. Let's watch some old Tony Awards. So I go to Paramount Plus. I type in Tonys in the search bar, and nothing comes up. Maybe I got my streaming services confused. I was pretty sure it was on Paramount Plus, but I couldn't say for certain. And who knows? Maybe for some reason they're on another one. I don't know. So I punch into Google where to watch the Tony Awards. And then I go to the official Tony Awards website. And then they have a nice little link that says, watch this year's performance. I said, cool. So I go ahead, I click on the link, and this is the MTV Video Music Awards. Okay, maybe the link is bad. That happens from time to time. It's totally fine. So let's just scroll down and let's type on this new link. I don't really care what award season I watch. I just want something fun on in the background. And that's still not the Tonys. I'm trying to watch your show. I'm going to the right website, the official website. Why won't you let me watch it? But fine. Let's see what YouTube has. The performances from the Tonys, from all the musicals, are the best part of the Tonys anyway. So I just kind of want to throw them on in the background. Let's go to the Tonys official YouTube channel, and where are the performances? Why is this just speeches and the trailers for the musicals that I can't go see? And do you see? They're using pro shots. Why are there no performances? Now, I can go and watch these performances still on YouTube. They're just uploaded by random users. So why isn't the Tonys taking advantage of this? Why are they not putting these performances on their official YouTube channel? These get hundreds of thousands of views. I don't understand why you wouldn't put them on your own channel. There's a way to get some more revenue. I alone have contributed approximately 1 million views to this Ariana DeBose opening performance from 2023 because it's amazing. My toxic trait is watching this and thinking, yeah, I could do that. Why would you not? I don't understand. Why would you not put these on your official YouTube channel? The Outsiders won Best Musical last year, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't really have any interest in seeing it before this, but I do now. I also didn't know that S.E. Hinton was a woman, but that's a whole other thing. That's more of a me problem. But after seeing this performance, it brought a tear to my eye. Everything about this performance sold me on wanting to see it. And it's actually coming on touring next season, I think, up here to the Boston area, I'm pretty sure. Having these performances is perfect. You'll get some extra revenue from all of the views, and it gets the word out there about your show. Why would you not put this on your YouTube channel, your official channel? Why would you not want people to see this? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. I didn't really have this part originally in my script. I just wanted to watch the Tony Awards, and then I got so mad because I don't understand. Why don't these links work? Why can't I find anything on Paramount Plus? I just don't understand, and now I'm just getting mad talking about it again, and In conclusion, I am bitter. But seriously, the Tony Awards are an amazing ceremony, and they are just so inaccessible for those who love to watch award shows and just love theater in general. Travel and the ticket prices alone is enough to scare people, but when that is your only option, how are you going to expect people to fall in love with the craft that is live theater? It's so hard. To the American Theater Wing, because I know you're obviously watching, please, please, please just make pro shots available. Put them on Paramount Plus. Can only be for 2 months. That's fine. But give people the opportunity to see your shows. How do you expect people to fall in love with theater and the beauty that it has if you are inaccessible?